Would. I know what you say about guiding your patient's reading and taking care that he sees a good deal of his materialist friend, but you are not being a trifle enough. It sounds as if you suppose that argument was the way to keep him out of the enemy's clutches. That might have been so if he had lived a few centuries earlier. At that time, humans still knew pretty well when a thing was proved and when it was not. And if it was proved, they really believed it. They still connected thinking with doing and were prepared to alter their way of life as the result of a chain of reasoning. But with the weekly press and other such weapons, we have largely altered that. Your man seems to be accustomed, ever since he was a boy, to have dozens of incomplete philosophies dancing about together inside his head. He doesn't think of the doctrines as primarily true or false, but academic or practical, outworn or contemporary, conventional or ruthless. Jargon, not argument, is your best ally in keeping him from the church. Don't waste time in trying to make him think that materialism is true and make him think that it is strong or stark or courageous, that it is the philosophy of the future. That's the sort of thing he cares about. The trouble about argument is that it moves the whole struggle into the enemy's own ground. He can argue too, whereas in reality, practical propaganda of the kind I am suggesting he has been shown for centuries to be greatly inferior of our Father below. By the very act of arguing, you awake the patient's reason. And once it is awake, who can foresee the result? Even if a particular train of thought can be twisted so as into our favor, you will find that you have been strengthening in your patient the fatal habit of attending to universal issues and withdrawing his attention from the stream of immediate sense experiences. Your business is to fix his attention on the stream. Teach him to call it real life. And don't let him ask what he means by real. Remember, he is not like you, a pure spirit, never having been human. Oh, that abominable advantage of the enemies. You don't realize how enslaved they are. The pressure of the ordinary. I once had a patient, a sound atheist, who used to read in the British Museum. One day he sat reading. I saw a train of thought cross his mind, beginning to go the wrong way. The enemy, of course, was at his elbow, and in a moment before I knew, I saw my 20 years' work beginning to alter. If I had lost my head and begun to attempt the defense by argument, I should have been undone. But I was not such a fool. I struck instantly at the part of the man which I had best under my control, and had suggested that it was just about time he had some lunch. The enemy presumably made the counter, suggesting, you know how you can never get quiet you can never quite overhear what it says to them. At this, I was more that this was more important than lunch. At least I think that must have been his line. For when I said quiet, in fact, much too important to tackle at the end of the morning, the patient brightened up. Much better to come back after lunch and go into it with a fresh mind. He was already halfway to the door. Once he was in the street, the battle was won. I showed him a newsboy shouting the midday paper and a number 73 bus going past. And before he reached to the bottom of the steps, I got him into an unalterable conviction that whatever the odd ideas might come into a man's head, when he's shut up alone with his books, a healthy dose of real life, by which I meant the bus and the newsboy, was enough to show him that all that sort of things just couldn't be true. He knew he had a narrow escape and in later years he was found of talking about that articulate sense for actuality, which is our ultimate safeguard against the abbreviations of mere logic. He is now safe in our Father's house. You begin to see the point? Thanks to a process which we can set at work in them centuries ago, they found it all but impossible to believe in the unfamiliar. While the familiar is before their eyes, keep pressing home on them the ordinance of things. Above all, do not attempt to use science, the real sciences, as defense against Christianity. They will positively encourage them to think about realities he cannot touch and see. There have been sad cases among the modern physicists. If he must dabble in science, keep him on economics and sociology. Don't let him get away from that invaluable real life. But the best of all is to let him read no science, but give him a grand general idea that he knows it all, and that everything he happens to have picked up in casual talk and reading, the results of modern investigations. Do remember, you are there to fuddle him. From the way of you young friends talk, anyone would suppose it's our job to teach. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape. Hey everyone, it's Tim again here, and I'm going to start a new series titled Defeating Screwtape. There was a book called Screwtape Letters, written by C.S. Lewis, the writer of the Chronicles of Narnia, which this book is about a demon who his nephew messed up and is now a Christian. And this demon is trying to tell his nephew how to bring the Christian back into darkness and into his old life. I'm here to read the chapters, read up some of the temptations they have, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about how to defeat it, and I'll even bring in what Scripture says about it too, as well. This one here, if you notice, he's talking about twisting reality and creating a very separate real life, or as in today's, your truth. This book was written several years ago, but if you notice here, it's very similar to what's going on. If someone says, I want to live my truth, that's not my truth. And if you even notice, he brings in talking about science. And instead of talking about real science that'll point to God, twisted science, the parts of science that they want you to see to try to save your argument. And interesting, I say argument just because that whole thing is saying not to argue outright, because if you try to bring in facts are going to point to God. And this is very similar to what we're seeing. And a lot of times if someone wants to talk about science, go ahead and talk to them about science. Show them different things that point to creation, bring into God. And also, we do need to show them that there is an absolute truth and how Jesus is the way. And a lot of times, as this showed you, they're probably going to be lied to that that's not real life, or that's not my truth. There's multiple truths. So you do need to stay grounded in Scripture, and also it doesn't really hurt to show them a lot of the prophecies that are fulfilled. And that's all I really have for this time. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.